Hey guys, how's it going? It's Ginger on Wheels here again. This is the Dualtron Storm electric scooter, and today I'm going to be doing a range test on it. Got a couple errands to do that involve me 20 miles away from my house, so hopefully this scooter can make it there and we can complete the errands, and then we can get back and we can see how many miles this thing actually gets on one full charge. Of course, I'm not going to have it maxed out in like the super speed settings. I've got it tamed a little bit with the slower acceleration mode. I've got the P setting for battery saver turned on maximum, and I have got it in speed mode 2. Make sure to subscribe for more awesome content like this, but let's roll the intro and get to riding. Okay, so this is it, the Dualtron Storm. There's one really weird slash kind of cool thing about this scooter that I want to show you before we get started. I never knew this about the scooter, and I haven't heard anyone else talk about it. In fact, one of the reviewers over at the Jimmy Chang channel felt this, and they thought it was actually a defect. So I want to show you something about this scooter. So previously, the Dualtrons, a lot of them anyway, don't have a rear foot plate. Like the Dualtron Thunder that I got, it just has a plastic fender. And that's really no way to ride a scooter, and I think Dualtron finally figured that out. You really need to wedge yourself in there and triangulate your weight. Like if you push your rear foot against this and you push your hands against the bars, you can kind of like wedge yourself into this triangle shape here. You're the other side of the triangle and it makes it a really solid shape. But if you don't have anything to wedge your foot against in the back, it makes it a lot harder to do that. So they made a foot plate on the back and it's covered in grip tape, which is awesome. But unlike the Cabo Wolf Warrior, where the foot plate is attached to the deck, this actually moves independently with the tire and the rear suspension. So I'm gonna take the camera off and I'll show you what I mean real quick. When I push on the rear of the scooter here, you can actually see it goes down, it almost goes flat with the deck. It allows me to triangulate myself better in the scooter. I don't know if that's the right word, but like I can wedge my body in there, you know? So I'm a big fan of this foot plate for street cruising. One thing it does not excel at, off-road, when the road gets really bumpy and your foot is on the back here, it's way too bumpy. It's hard to keep your foot on there. So if you're gonna have the rear suspension absorbing that many bumps, which you have to, then you can't have your foot bouncing around with the rear swing arm. That's kind of silly. I do overall like the Cabo Wolf Warrior design better, where it's just got that solid bar that goes around the back, but this is cool too. It's something else. And I do feel like it gives me more grip and more confidence on streets, like when I don't have to worry about my foot bumping around on the back. All right, I want to say for the record that in Speed 1, there's a little E button down here on the light panel, bottom right. If you push E, you're in eco mode, and in Speed 1, the top speed is about like 12 miles an hour maybe. And I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say this is the mode that they range tested in. So if you're like 150 pounds and you're on perfectly flat ground and you're okay going 13 miles an hour, you probably get 80 miles range. But the reason why you're watching Ginger on Wheels is because you wanna know what happens when a bigger guy, 200-ish pounds, goes in actual speed, like 20 miles an hour. Which, in case you're not familiar with like how mechanics work, it requires a lot more power to go 20 miles an hour than 13, like probably triple. So, and especially with a big guy like me. One thing I think Dualtron really messed up on with this scooter is they don't have a button for the cruise control. If you're gonna have this big button display, make one for the cruise control, because it's still borderline impossible to deploy. I've got cruise control on right now, and if I hold the throttle steady at 19 miles an hour for like as long as I can, I still can't lock the cruise control on. I can do it when I'm going maybe 22, because I feel like going faster smooths out some of the bumps and I'm not as, like I can hold my fingers steady longer. Here we go, maybe I'm on, nope, not on yet. It's just so annoying. I can't lock cruise control on, and top speed in Speed 2 eco mode is like 30, and Speed 1 eco mode is, you know, 10, 12. Wait, am I locked on? Okay, I got it locked on at 21. I'm keeping it here. We're keeping it here. I'm not gonna mess with it. I do have the battery saver mode. Ooh, I shouldn't let go. Squirrely handlebars on this Dualtron. 24.5 inches wide, and they're really short. They're like, what was that scooter? The Highboy Titan Pro, shortest handlebars. This thing's definitely close. If you get this scooter, plan on getting a handlebar upgrade, unless you're like 5'5". Also, something I noticed with, I got a Dualtron Thunder and then I also got the Storm. After the first ride on my Thunder, the handlebars started creaking really bad. And I went to the Storm and said, do these handlebars creak? And they don't. But I talked to a couple other Dualtron owners, and I saw a Dualtron Storm owner on the group ride yesterday, and his handlebars are really creaky, and all the other Dualtron owners' handlebars get all creaky. So it sounds like it's just a Dualtron issue. But everyone says it goes away if you take it apart and lube it up and then put it back together. So might have to do that later. But it's really annoying that you can pay this much for a scooter and still get creaky handlebars. So super exciting news for next week. I get to drive down to Tacoma area, and there's a guy down there by the name of Matt Boggs, and he's an admin on the Facebook group Electric Scooter Evolution. So if you're not a fan of that group, go like the page. It's a really cool group to be a part of. But he has been posting pictures and telling everyone about this build that he's been doing for the last couple of years, where he gutted out a 011X and made a custom battery, got custom Ryan controllers, custom motors made, and everything's totally custom on it. And it's allegedly faster than a Ryan, or as fast as, but it's a 011X frame with upgraded suspension, and I can't wait to see this thing. It's, on paper, it sounds like the scooter to end all scooters. It's got the 011X frame, which is perfect, except for it can't off-road because the suspension is weak. So he upgraded the suspension. But it's not that powerful because it's so heavy. So he upgraded the power, the drivetrain. So it seems to check all the boxes for me, like road cruiser and off-road beast. I'm really excited to see this thing. But anyway, I get to go down there next week and ride it. I'm really excited. So shout out to Matt. Thanks again if you're watching this video. Cannot wait to ride Le Scoot. And I'll switch you. You can ride one of these if you want. All right, I'm 6.6 miles into the trip, and I'm gonna change the P setting on my scooter. I've got 100% battery left, allegedly. But I'm gonna change the P setting so that the total output is not 100. It's gonna be 60. That way I can stay in speed 2 around 17 miles an hour and still get a decent amount of range and a fast cruising speed, because I can tell 25 is too fast. I'm gonna kill the battery if I cruise at that speed for too long. Probably get 30 miles of range. All right, you guys, well, I just kind of smashed through the first 21.8 miles, and I'm nearing the U District. I'm gonna meet up with one of my buddies and kick it with him for a while, test out his new pads on his unicycle. You can really hear how loud the scooter is on this hill here. You can hear me better than you would be able to normally because I have a microphone pretty close to my mouth, but trust me, it's a loud whining noise up this hill here. 14 miles an hour. I'm still just cruising along. A few thoughts about the scooter. First of all, the motors, as you can tell, they sound very high-pitched and whiny. And the only thing I can equate it to is like those RC cars that go 40 miles an hour or whatever, and they go at high speeds, the scooter sounds like that. And at low speeds, like right now, I don't know what it sounds like. It sounds like a really loud juicer or something. It's just like maybe a vacuum cleaner. It's not quiet. Which way are we going? We're going the wrong way. Go check out Wrong Way YouTube channel if you haven't already. That dude's awesome. Okay, so the independent rear suspension thing, it's a really cool idea, and it feels pretty neat when you're just drag racing on the street. But in practical use in bumpy situations or off-road, using that rear deck thing as a rear foot plate becomes like a logistical nightmare. You can't keep your foot on the dang thing. It's too bumpy. And it makes me wonder how well the controllers are mounted in there. Are they totally sealed to that thing? Because that's, like I said, really bumpy. I could see connections coming loose in there after a while, but only time will tell. I think I am 26 miles into the trip, and I still have 78% battery left. So one of my other thoughts about the scooter is that right now, for example, you can tell I'm rolling downhill 24 miles an hour, and there's almost no resistance on the scooter. It feels just like a normal scooter, like a scooter that isn't electric powered. And that's very unusual. Normally there's some resistance from the electric motors, but just based on those whiny motors, and I can actually hear when they're engaging and when they're not engaging, and then the free rollingness of the motors, I have a sneaking suspicion that this scooter is going to be very efficient on range. I was not expecting this range test to last so long. I was thinking maybe like Wolf Warrior-ish, 46 miles, but we'll see. I don't know, we will see. So many rich people around here driving just insane supercars. Oh. Yeah, like that BMW M5. I cannot believe that guy just blew past me at 100 miles an hour. Holy shnikes. I really hope I catch up to that guy. I know where the BMW dealership is that he's probably going to. That's not okay. And we got him on camera. Guess what? Got you on camera. So as expected, I catch up to this guy at the dealership and I look at his car and I say, "Oh, sweet BMW M5. Was that you just driving?" And he was like, "Yeah, dude, I was going like 90. So I said, "Oh, well, I just stopped by here to let people know never to go to West State Motorsport, and you just passed me going 90 miles an hour in the bike lane." And I don't know whether the guy was rushing back to the dealership to get his steroids on, or like if he just needed to get back with his butt buddy, but he was definitely in a really big hurry. So if you're ever in the area, never, ever, ever go to West State Motorsport. On the guys who almost ran me off the road, or the guy, was one guy in the car. And he even self-admittedly drove by me at 90 miles an hour. He said, "Well, why were you doing this?" And I was like, "What? Why was I in the bike lane?" And he said, "F off, dude." So if you're ever in the area, never go to, what was that place called? West State Motorsport. Ever. I thought I was gonna get into a fight with the dude. If there wasn't a scooter between me and him, I thought he was gonna come after me. And I was ready for it too. My adrenaline was going. I was like, go ahead, try and fight a guy with a full face helmet on. See how that ends up. Anyway. God, the scooter is loud up hills. Can you hear this thing? It's screaming. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but Dualtron scooters don't have the option for a single motor. You're just in dual motor all the time. So really torquey. And I tried to adjust the torque setting on the motor. It got 0 to 5 and 1, 2, 3, 4. But it doesn't seem to do much at all. I don't know if it's the fact that it's a 72 volt system and normally we're working with 48 or 60, but it doesn't seem to do much with the acceleration, like at all, in any of the different modes. It's just like really ripping acceleration all the time. Starting to get worried, not for the scooter, but for me. It's getting dark and the scooter still has, what was it, like 65% charge or something? 62%. We're like 40 plus miles into the trip. Way better range than the regular Wolf, and the Wolf King just completely smashed it out of the park. It's got to have something to do with the frequency of the motors, like how the motor magnets are tuned. They're definitely tuned for torque, or maybe it's just the 72 volts. I really don't know. I would be completely just speculating if I guessed why this has so much more range, but more efficient controllers. The fact that it's a mini motors controller and a mini motors throttle, I really don't know. But we're looking at like 1.5 times the range of the Wolf if this keeps up. For all I know, though, it could get down to 50% and then drop off a cliff. We could die in the middle of nowhere. But I am at a park right now, and I have the option to either go home and just kind of toot around by my house until the scooter dies, which sounds really boring, or I can roll the dice and try and roll the scooter around the lake. There's another lake I can go around. So I think I'm going to do that. It's a gravel trail for 10 of the miles, so putting this thing through the stresses of gravel and bumps and everything will definitely affect the range even more. Add 3 or 4 miles onto the end of the actual range if you want to account for that, but I am just going to try and go for it. Voltage display on the deck, you can see, still showing 74.3. And I've noticed, even though this is covered in grip tape, I can still read it even in the sunlight. So well done there, guys. Nice job. 45 miles into the trip. Got 56% battery left somehow. I've been cruising like 17 to 22 miles per hour consistently throughout this whole ride. There's like one section 10 miles an hour to 12 where I was on a phone call, but that lasted like maybe 20 minutes. This scooter is definitely surprising me. Still got a long way to go down the trail, pretty much indefinitely until this thing runs out of batteries. So let's see how far the last half of the battery gets us. If it's anything like any other scooter, it's gonna get down to about 40% and then just go straight down after that. And I really hope it doesn't, because got about 20 miles to go. I'm gonna go all the way down this trail around the lake and then back over to where I started.
Everything's alright. We don't give a damn this time. My daddy was a gambling man with no strategy. Who gives a shit about him anymore? Guess we never really settled the score. Half the town's okay, we'll all soon be gone. Hey, what's the matter with the bright red lights? Hey, in the moment when the world went blind, but everything's alright. We don't give a damn this time.
All right, well, 62 miles, 25% battery left. Yep, I have been using the regen braking as much as I can, like level 3 out of 5. The battery just won't die. The Dualtron Storm outranges the eMove Cruiser. All right, you guys, it's the next actual day right now because I couldn't do it all night. I wasn't gonna do a whole Veteran Sherman thing where I go cruising around for like a million hours. I got the scooter home and I noticed that as the scooter sat there overnight, the voltage actually went up a little bit. So it's at 65.5 right now, and I did 68.8 miles on day one. Pretty much like started at 3 and ended at like 11, with tons of breaks, of course, but the scooter average speed was about 17 to 22 miles an hour for the entire ride. There was one spot where I was on a phone call for like 20 minutes and I was going about 12 miles an hour. But I'm gonna try and go like 15 or 20 and hopefully don't kill the scooter too fast today, but we're gonna see how much range I get on top of the 68.8 miles from day one. And it's actually about to be off-road again. This is the way I'm going. I've still got the power limited to 65% output, and I'm in speed 2. But top speed on this mode used to be 19 miles an hour. Now I think it's like 14. So I might have to flip it into speed 3 to maintain my 15 to 20 mile an hour target speed. For the record, the display is flashing 0% battery right now, and it has been since I started. And this is probably not safe voltage to be riding around on if you want to like maintain the longevity of your battery pack. Definitely stop around 20%, go home and charge. Don't want to drain your battery down this far, because I think you get something like 1,000 charge cycles out of one of these packs, but you can cut that in half by about 50% by abusing the battery like this. We're down to 61 volts under load when I'm giving it throttle, and then 63 resting. Going about 20 miles an hour right now. Got cruise control on. 61.3. Sorry guys, after all that, I did not catch the scooter dying on film, but I did record the route for day 1, so let's go ahead and take a look at the route now. And I don't have the route for day 2, but I do remember that it was about 2.2 miles. All right, you guys, that was the relive video for day one. I just did a little bit of math on Google Maps, and the total distance that I think I went today was about somewhere between 2.1 and 2.3 miles. So let's say 2.2. And if we add that to day one of 68.8 miles, then we get 71 total miles range, which makes the Dualtron Storm the longest range scooter that I have ever tested. So there you have it, folks. Thanks for sticking in to the end, and I'll see you guys for the next video.